3:28 a.m. Convenience store parking lot. Coffee too bitter. Hoodie smells like outside air. Phone at 12%. Still not ready to go home yet. Cashier didn't even look up this time. Guess I come here enough now. Same drink, same tired eyes, same half-dead playlist in the car. There's a guy smoking near the ice machine, couple arguing softly by the gas pumps. City still awake in weird little ways. Makes me feel less alone somehow. Nobody asked if you're okay at this hour. And honestly, that's part of the comfort. The night doesn't ask questions, doesn't need explanations, doesn't care who you miss or why you're still driving around. Instead of sleeping, it just lets you exist quietly. No pressure, no pretending, no small talk, just headlights and surviving. Daytime feels performative lately. Everybody answering emails, posting happiness, acting emotionally organized. Meanwhile, I'm eating vending machine snacks at 4 a.m. Trying to figure out why silence feels heavier in my apartment now. Funny thing is, I'm not even sad exactly, just tired in a deeper way. Passing streetlights, windshield reflections, slow breathing atmosphere. I think that's why I stay awake so long. Nighttime feels honest, not beautiful honest, not movie scene honest, just people too exhausted to fake things properly anymore. Maybe I'm one of them. The night doesn't ask questions, doesn't tell me to move on, doesn't force closure, doesn't expect me to explain emotions I barely understand myself. It just sits with me quietly until morning interrupts everything again. Sun's gonna come up eventually. Not sure I'm ready for people again. You never call during the daytime, only when the night starts feeling too heavy. Sometimes it starts with something small, a random meme, a "you still awake" text, some excuse weak enough that neither of us fully believes it. And suddenly, we're talking for hours again about music, bad sleep habits, people we pretend not to miss anymore, like nothing ever really ended between us. Funny how loneliness makes familiar voices feel dangerous again. We only talk when we're lonely, when the apartment feels too quiet, when distractions stop working, when somebody else's attention still isn't enough somehow. That's when your voice finds mine again, soft enough to almost feel like comfort. You asked me if I've been happy lately. I laughed before answering, not because it was funny, just because I didn't know how honest we were allowed to be anymore. That's the strange part about us now. The emotional boundaries keep changing. Some nights we sound like strangers, other nights you still know exactly when my voice gets tired. Night, city glow, headlights through curtains, slow breathing atmosphere. I think we both know this isn't healthy, but loneliness can make temporary things feel permanent for a while. And honestly, there's comfort in talking to somebody who already knows your worst versions, somebody who remembers your silence correctly. We only talk when we're lonely, never in sunlight, never when life feels stable, never when neither of us is truly okay. Just tired conversations floating through dark rooms, trying to sound casual while meaning way more underneath. You say get some sleep, like either of us actually would. I leave the TV on a lot now, not even watching it most of the time. There's something about background noise that makes an apartment feel less honest, like if the room stays loud enough, my thoughts won't settle properly. So I let old sitcoms play quietly while I wash dishes too slowly, or stare out the kitchen window pretending to think about nothing. But nights always catch up eventually, especially the quiet ones. Some silences don't feel empty, they feel unfinished. TV light in an empty room, blue glow moving across the walls, like the apartment's trying to imitate company. And honestly, some nights it almost works until a joke reminds me of you, or a song plays during a commercial break, and suddenly the loneliness becomes specific again. I used to think living alone would feel peaceful, and sometimes it does. I like choosing the music, sleeping diagonally across the bed, eating dinner whenever I want. But nobody talks enough about the strange parts, like having nobody to immediately tell things to, little pointless things. A weird customer at work, a dream that felt too real. How the rain sounded softer tonight for some reason. tiny moments with nowhere to land. Warm room ambience, distant city sounds, slow reflective atmosphere. I caught myself talking to the television earlier, just small reactions under my breath. And for a second, I realized how long it's been since somebody's answered me naturally. That thought stayed in the room longer than I wanted it to. TV light in an empty room, half comfort, half distraction, half proof that loneliness sounds louder after midnight. Still, I think I'm learning how to sit with it better now. Or maybe I'm just getting used to the echo. Somewhere in another apartment, somebody else is probably doing the same thing. We keep talking around things, never directly at them. Every conversation feels carefully edited now. Too polite, too measured, too aware of where the dangerous topics are hiding. You ask about work, ask about sleep. We both pretend it counts as connection. Meanwhile, there's this giant silence sitting between us, taking up the entire room. And somehow neither of us mentions it. I think we're both scared the truth might change everything permanently. I think we're both avoiding something, maybe several things. The distance, the disappointment, the feeling that we stopped reaching each other emotionally a while ago. Still, we keep showing up anyway, like familiarity alone might save this somehow. You smiled at me earlier in that careful way people do when they try not to make situations heavier. And honestly, that hurt more than if we had argued, because at least arguments are honest. This feels quieter than that, like two exhausted people try not to break what's already cracking underneath them. Rain against window, slow breathing atmosphere, headphone intimacy. Almost asked you if you still love me. The question reached my throat and stopped there. Not because I didn't want the answer, because I already felt it changing. And sometimes emotional survival looks like avoiding confirmation. I think we're both avoiding something, not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly postponing the conversation until feelings soften on their own. But deep down convince. Found your hoodie in the back of my closet tonight. Didn't expect that to ruin my mood a little. It still smells faintly like smoking cold air, like late drives with the windows cracked open while you talked about random things that somehow sounded important after midnight. You always wore too much cologne too. Said you like leaving traces behind places. Guess you got your wish, because certain rooms still feel like you sometimes. Funny how a scent keeps memories alive longer than logic does. Your hoodie still smells like smoke, like tired conversations outside apartment buildings, like city lights reflecting on wet streets, like nights we stayed awake too long, pretending we weren't attached already. And honestly, that fabric feels more honest than most people I've met lately. I almost washed it earlier, held it over the laundry basket for a second, then changed my mind without really thinking. Not because I'm trying to hold on. I think part of me just wasn't ready for another version of you to disappear quietly. Healing's weird like that. Sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's literally just a piece of clothing in dim light. You know what I miss most? Not the relationship exactly, just how natural everything felt with you. Silences didn't need fixing, conversations didn't feel performed. We could sit there for hours, half tired, half distracted, and somehow still feel understood. That kind of comfort stays in the body longer than expected. Your hoodie still smells like smoke, and for a few minutes tonight the apartment felt less empty because of it. Maybe memories fade slowly for a reason. Maybe some parts of people are supposed to linger a little while longer. Should probably wash it eventually. My phone almost never rings, it's late anymore. That's how I knew it mattered. Your voice sounded tired immediately. Not dramatic, tired, just emotionally worn down, like somebody who spent the whole day pretending to be okay. I didn't ask too many questions at first. Some people need a minute before honesty fully reaches the surface. So I just listened to your breathing, to the pauses, to all the things you weren't saying directly yet. Nighttime makes vulnerability harder to hide. Nobody calls me this late unless it's real. Not for small talk, not for fake politeness, not for conversations that don't mean anything underneath. People only reach for familiar voices at this hour, when something inside them finally gets too heavy to carry alone. You kept apologizing for calling, said you didn't know who else to talk to, and honestly that sentence stayed with me longer than it should've. Because there's a strange intimacy in being somebody's emotional emergency contact, even temporarily. Especially when the world gets quiet enough for loneliness to sound honest. Rain against windows, late night apartment atmosphere, slow breathing space. At one point neither of us was talking anymore, just sitting there quietly through the phone, and weirdly that felt more intimate than most conversations I've had lately. No performance, no trying too hard, just two exhausted people keeping each other company through another difficult night. Nobody calls me this late unless it's real, unless sleep stopped working, unless silence became unbearable, unless emotions finally slip past the daytime version of themselves. And maybe that's why these conversations stay with me, because tired people rarely fake vulnerability correctly. You said thanks for answering, like I wasn't already awake. We say no pressure a lot, for two people clearly carrying too much emotion. You came over wearing that detached little smile again, the one that says let's not make this complicated tonight. So we ordered food, shared playlists, sat too close on the couch, pretending physical distance still existed between us. And honestly, we're getting really good at acting casual around feelings that definitely aren't casual anymore. Somewhere along the way, comfort started sounding a lot like attachment. We keep pretending this is casual, like you don't memorize the way my mood shifts, like I don't notice when your voice sounds tired immediately, like these late night visits don't leave emotional fingerprints all over the apartment afterwards. Still, neither of us says anything directly enough to change it. You fell asleep for a few minutes earlier, head against my shoulder, television still glowing softly in the background. And for one dangerous second it felt domestic, not temporary, not undefined, not just seeing where things go. Real. That feeling scared me more than it should've. Dim apartment atmosphere, city noise through windows, slow emotional tension. The strange part is, I don't even know what either of us wants anymore. We avoid labels, avoid future conversations, avoid asking questions that might force honesty into the room. But emotionally, it stopped being simple a long time ago. We keep pretending this is casual, we're building routines around each other quietly. You leaving your charger, hear me buying snacks you like automatically. Both of us staying longer than originally planned. Maybe denial feels safer than clarity at this point, because clarity would probably ask us what this actually means. You said see you soon, way too naturally. Coffee tastes terrible here. Still, I keep coming back. There's something comforting about places that stay open all night. Like they understand certain people don't really know what to do with themselves after midnight. The cashier barely talks anymore, just nods when I walk in, already knowing the order. Guess loneliness has routines too. Some nights I come here for caffeine, some nights I come here just to exist somewhere that isn't my apartment. Convenience store coffee at 3 in the morning. Warm hands, tired eyes, headphones playing songs that sound too honest right now. Outside the windows, the city keeps glowing like nobody's emotionally exhausted inside. And meanwhile I'm sitting here trying not to text people I already lost once. A girl walked in crying earlier, trying so hard to act normal while buying gum and bottled water. Nobody stared. That's the thing I love about nighttime strangers. Everybody silently agrees to let each other fall apart privately. No questions, no awkward sympathy, just tired people sharing fluorescent light for a few minutes. Late night freeway ambience, neon reflections on glass, slow breathing atmosphere. I think I romanticize places like this too much. But honestly, there's beauty in temporary spaces. Nobody expects you to have answers here. You can just sit quietly, holding back coffee, watching headlights move through wet streets, and for a little while that feels enough. Convenience store coffee at 3 in the morning. Taste burnt, costs too much, still somehow feels better than going home too early. Maybe because places like this understand emotional limbo correctly. Half awake, half healing, still trying to survive another night. The sky's starting to lighten a little outside. I can't fall asleep in silence anymore. Too much thinking happens there. So now I leave things on television, fan noise, rain playlist through cheap speakers. Anything to stop the room from becoming emotionally too quiet. Because silence used to feel peaceful, back when my mind wasn't carrying this much unfinished stuff. Now it feels different. Now silence sounds like memory. Funny how comfort changes shape after enough lonely nights. I sleep better with noise now, with distant voices in the background, with soft static filling empty spaces, with something loud enough to interrupt old conversations replaying in my head. And honestly, I think that says more about me lately than I fully want to unpack yet. I tried sleeping without distractions last week. Just darkness, stillness, nothing covering the sound of my own thoughts. Worst idea I've had in a while. Every memory showed up immediately. People I miss, things I should have said sooner, versions of myself I barely recognize anymore. The brain gets dangerous when the world gets too quiet. Nighttime traffic, slow breathing atmosphere. You used to fall asleep instantly beside me. I remember being jealous of that. How calm your mind seemed at night. Meanwhile, I was always awake longer, thinking too much about everything. Maybe that's why losing you changed my sleep so badly. You weren't fixing my insomnia, you were distracting it. I sleep better with noise now, not because I enjoy chaos, because certain nights quiet feels emotionally unsafe somehow. So I let old sitcoms play softly while the city hums outside the window, trying to trick loneliness into sounding less permanent. Another episode ending. Still awake though. There are nights where making it to morning feels strangely impressive. even when nothing dramatic happened. Just me, walking circles through the apartment, reheating cold coffee, checking my phone without expecting anything. The usual rituals, funny how survival rarely looks cinematic in real life. Most of the time it's tiny decisions nobody sees. Not sending the text, not reopening old wounds, getting through another sleepless night without collapsing emotionally inside it. Maybe healing is quieter than people promised. Some nights survival feels romantic, city lights reflecting through tired eyes, music playing softly enough to hold the room together. Loneliness turning strangely beautiful for a few minutes. Not because the pain disappears, because you realize you're still here despite it. I used to think emotional growth would feel powerful, like clarity, like certainty, like finally understanding everything correctly. But honestly, it mostly feels like exhaustion becoming softer over time, like learning how to carry memories without letting them control the whole night anymore. And maybe that's enough. Maybe peace isn't dramatic either. Distant freeway ambience, warm roads improvisation, slow breathing atmosphere. There's a version of me from last year that wouldn't recognize this calm. Back then, every silence felt catastrophic. Now, some nights are still hard, but I don't panic inside loneliness the same way anymore. I sit with it, play music through the speakers, watch headlights move across the ceiling, and eventually morning arrives quietly on its own. Some nights survival feels romantic, not glamorous, not beautiful in a movie scene way. Just human, just tired people learning how to live with themselves honestly after everyone else goes to sleep. And somehow I think there's dignity in that. The birds are starting again outside. Guess we made it through another night. Rain always sounded different at your place. Softer somehow. You lived on the 7th floor, high enough that city noise blurred into background texture. We used to sit by the window for hours without really doing much, just talking occasionally, letting songs play through cheap speakers, watching headlights stretch across wet streets below. And honestly, I think those nights spoiled me a little, because nowhere's felt that calm since. Funny how comfort gets attached to locations. Rain sounds better from your apartment, better with your lamplight filling the room, better with your voice somewhere behind me, asking questions I pretended not to overthink afterward. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but for a while it felt safe there. And that's harder to replace than people admit. I passed your building last month, didn't stop, still slowed down more than necessary though. The windows look different now, somebody else probably lives there already. Probably making coffee, watching storms roll through the city, creating memories they don't realize will someday become painful too. Strange thought. You know what I miss most? Not even the relationship itself, just how easy everything felt on rainy nights there. No pressure to impress each other, no trying too hard, no emotional performance, just quiet company, the kind people spend years searching for without realizing it. Some places keep emotional versions of people alive. Rain sounds better from your apartment, or maybe I just associate peace with you too strongly still. Either way, certain storms still pull me backward emotionally. Not enough to break me anymore, just enough to make the night feel familiar again. The forecast says rain tomorrow too. You ever notice how people get more honest when they're tired enough? You barely text me during the day anymore. Responses get shorter, colder, carefully casual. But after 2 a.m., different person entirely. Suddenly you're telling me things you'd never admit in sunlight. Talking about loneliness, childhood fears, people you pretend not to miss. Like nighttime unlocks parts of you, the daytime version keeps hidden. And somehow I always stay awake long enough to listen. We talk better after 2 a.m. when the city gets quiet, when distractions stop working, when honesty slips through exhausted voices. That's when you sound closest to the version called me tonight instead of texting. Said you couldn't sleep, but we both knew sleep wasn't really the issue. We stayed on the phone for almost an hour, talking about nothing important. Music, bad relationships, why adulthood feels lonelier than expected. The kind of conversation people only have when the world slows down enough. Scent drift, soft electric, late night, freeway, headphone intimacy. The dangerous part, I can never tell whether these moments actually mean something, or if we're just temporary comfort for each other's insomnia. Because morning always changes everything. By noon, you'll probably go back to sounding distant again, and I'll pretend that doesn't affect me every time. Some connections survive best in darkness. We talk better after 2 a.m. when emotional walls get softer, when silence feels too heavy to sit inside alone. And maybe that's all this really is. Two tired people using each other's voices to make lonely nights feel shorter. 2:47 a.m. I used to think the city was endless. Now somehow everywhere reminds me of you. There are too many versions of us scattered around here. Coffee shops, parking garages, late night diners, we stay there too long. Even random intersections carry emotional history now. I can't drive downtown without remembering some conversation we had at red lights. And I hate how automatic it still feels, like the city memorizes too well. Funny how losing one person can shrink entire places emotionally. The city feels smaller without you, like every street loops back in a memory somehow. Certain buildings still hold your energy, certain songs still belong to certain neighborhoods. And maybe that's why I stay out driving so late sometimes, trying to separate the city from the version of us that used to exist inside. I passed the rooftop bar last weekend, the one where you said you were scared of becoming emotionally unavailable someday. At the time I laughed it off, now I replay that sentence differently. Funny what starts making sense afterward. I guess hindsight is just memory wearing sharper glasses. To the right, so watch a piano improvisation. Slow emotional guitar swell. Distant city ambience, headphone focus, night atmosphere. You know what's strange? I barely miss the dramatic moments anymore. Not the arguments, not the breakups, not even the apology. Smaller than that now. I miss having somebody attached to places with me, because now every familiar street just feels emotionally half empty somehow. Maybe cities aren't built from buildings, maybe they're built from who we share them with. The city feels smaller without you, quieter too. Like certain parts stop growing emotionally after you left. Still, I think I'm finally learning how to create new memories here again. Slow, one sleepless night at a time. Another red light, another memory. There are people I only think about after midnight, like they belong more to the night than real life. Daytime keeps me distracted enough. Work, notifications, small conversations, coffee that's gone cold before I finish it. But nights are different. Nights remove the background noise, and suddenly old memories start walking through the room again, like they still know where everything is. Funny how loneliness gets louder when the city gets quieter. Some people disappear in sunlight, then return emotionally after 2 a.m. Some people only exist at night, in passing headlights, unfinished thoughts, songs playing too softly through headphones. People I don't call anymore, but still somehow carry with me, like emotional ghosts showing up quietly whenever sleep doesn't. I saw your name earlier today, didn't feel much then around midnight. I remembered the exact sound of your laughing elevators. The brain works strangely when it's tired, makes ordinary memories feel cinematic, makes temporary people feel permanent again. Distant train sounds, slow electric guitar swells, rain against city windows. Maybe that's why I stay awake sometimes. Not because I can't sleep, Because nighttime feels like the only place certain emotions still tell the truth. During the day, everything's organized. At night, people admit things silently to themselves, things they'd never say out loud before sunrise. Insomnia makes old feelings sound believable again. Some people only exist at night, in memories, in latex, never set, in reflections crossing rainy windows. And maybe they were never meant to stay permanently. Maybe some connections were always designed to live inside sleepless hours. 4:12 a.m. Still awake, still thinking too much. You look different at night, softer somehow. Or maybe I just notice more in low light. Yeah. You were sitting on a kitchen counter, wearing my hoodie like it belonged to you already. City lights coming through the window, half your face hidden in shadow. And for a second, everything felt dangerously easy. No serious conversations, no future plans, no asking what this actually means. Just music playing quietly while the rest of the city disappeared outside. Maybe that's why nighttime connections feel addictive. They ask less questions. You look different in low light, like somebody I could accidentally get attached to, the kind of person who makes loneliness feel temporary without actually fixing it. And honestly, that's still enough sometimes. That's still enough sometimes. You asked me what I was thinking about. I lied automatically, said nothing, even though my brain was already imagining how hard this room would feel afterward, once you eventually left. Funny how some people arrive already carrying future nostalgia with them. Barely knew each other, honestly. That's the strange part. Still, the intimacy felt real. Maybe because tired people skip small talk faster, or maybe loneliness just accelerates certain emotions. Either way, by 3 a.m. your voice already sounded familiar enough to become dangerous. Some connections are built entirely from timing and atmosphere. You look different in low light, closer, warmer, more emotionally believable somehow. But morning changes people. Morning asks practical questions. Nighttime carefully avoids. And deep down I think we both already know that sunrise is gonna ruin this. think I've been lying to myself a little. Loneliness isn't always poetic. I keep turning lonely nights into aesthetic memories. City lights, headphones on, long drives with emotional music playing softly. Makes isolation feel cinematic somehow. But honestly, half the time I'm just avoiding sleep and overthinking people who probably stopped thinking about me hours ago. Still, there's something addictive about staying awake while the world gets quieter. Like nighttime gives emotions more room to breathe. Maybe that's why I keep chasing this atmosphere, even when it hurts a little. I keep romanticizing lonely nights, turning silence into meaning, turning exhaustion into reflection, turning empty rooms into emotional stories. Like sadness sounds deeper after midnight. Maybe it does. Or maybe tired people just feel everything louder. My friends think I enjoy being alone now, and sometimes I do. I like slow mornings, quiet apartments, having space to think clearly. But there's a difference between solitude and emotional hiding. I'm still figuring out which one this is. Myself driving nowhere again tonight, just circling the city, playing songs attached to old versions of me. And for a second, I realized something uncomfortable. Maybe I don't always miss the people, maybe I miss the emotions. I became addicted to feeling around them, that late night intensity, that almost love atmosphere. Some people heal quietly, others keep replaying the mood of heartbreak. I keep romanticizing lonely nights, like overthinking is some kind of personality trait instead of emotional avoidance, with good music behind it. Still, there's beauty here sometimes too, in surviving another sleepless evening and finding yourself honestly somewhere inside it. The city looks prettier when you can't sleep. Last train of the night, everybody looks emotionally somewhere else. There's something strangely comforting about empty trains after midnight. Nobody trying too hard, nobody pretending to be productive anymore. Just tired faces, dim station lights, and people quietly surviving their own thoughts. I've been riding in circles for almost an hour now, not because I need to go anywhere, just didn't feel ready. go home yet. Some nights movement feels easier than stillness. Empty trains and overthinking, city lights blurring through tired eyes. Old memories showing up uninvited again. Somehow everything feels more honest underground. Maybe loneliness sounds different when everybody around you is hiding it too. A couple sat across from me earlier, half asleep on each other's shoulders. Couldn't tell if they were deeply in love or just comfortable enough to stop pretending. Made me think about us for a second, about how intimacy slowly changes shape over time. At first it's excitement, then eventually it becomes knowing somebody's silence by heart. Soft train ambience, warm roads and pervasive distant station announcements, headphone focused atmosphere. I used to hate being alone in public. Now I almost prefer it. There's freedom and anonymity. Nobody here knows who I miss, who I almost texted tonight. Oh, why certain songs still ruin my mood unexpectedly to them. I'm just another tired person trying to get somewhere before morning. Maybe everybody's carrying invisible conversations at this hour. Empty trains and overthinking, watching reflections move through dark windows, while old versions of myself replay quietly in my head. And maybe healing isn't arriving somewhere suddenly. Maybe it's this, slowly learning how to sit alone without feeling abandoned by it. Almost home. Almost home. The sky's getting lighter again. Funny how people act like morning changes things. I used to believe sleep would help, like somehow resting long enough would reorganize emotions neatly by morning. But certain feelings survive overnight, still sitting there, waiting quietly beside the bed. The second you wake up again. And honestly, that realization used to scare me more. Now it just feels familiar. Some nights end, some thoughts don't. Sunrise never fixes anything. Not loneliness, not missing people, not conversations replaying endlessly in tired minds. It just makes emotions easier to hide again, because daylight gives everybody distraction. nighttime honesty slowly disappears with it. I stayed awake until almost 5 tonight, watching headlights move across the ceiling, thinking about old versions of myself again. The hopeful version, the heartbroken version, the one who thought certain people would stay forever. Funny how all those versions still exist somewhere inside me. Even now, even after everything changed. But maybe healing was never supposed to feel dramatic. Maybe it's smaller than that. Maybe it's surviving nights like these without reaching for old habits, old numbers, old fantasies about fixing everything. Maybe growth is just learning how to sit honestly with yourself when the world gets quiet enough. Insomnia teaches truth. Daytime usually interrupts. Sunrise never fixes anything, but it does remind me that I made it through another night again. And maybe that's enough for now. Not closure, not certainty, not perfect peace, just quiet survival. One sleepless morning at a time. Morning already. Still tired, still healing, still here. Nobody knows. Not really. My friends think I'm completely over it now, and honestly, I let them believe that. I laugh at the right moments, tell cleaner versions of the story, act casual whenever your name comes up unexpectedly, like it doesn't still hit somewhere quiet inside me. I got good at hiding it. That's what time teaches you eventually, how to carry certain emotions without letting them spill everywhere. Healing looks calmer from the outside. Nobody knows I still think about you during long drives through crowded grocery stores and random moments that make no sense at all. Not dramatically, just quietly, like background music. I stop noticing until the room gets still enough. I heard somebody laugh like you last week. Actually turned around for a second. Felt stupid immediately afterward, but memory reacts before logic sometimes. That's the annoying part. You can move forward emotionally and still get ambushed by tiny things unexpectedly. A smell, a phrase, a certain kind of silence. Rain against windows, headphone intimacy. I don't talk about you anymore. Not because you stopped mattering. I think some emotions just become too difficult to explain correctly. How do you tell people you miss someone occasionally without wanting them back? How do you explain that love can fade realistically and still leave emotional fingerprints everywhere afterward? Some feelings survive quietly on purpose. Nobody knows I still think about you. Not in ways that stop my life, not in ways that ruin my sleep anymore. Just enough to make certain nights feel softer and certain songs feel heavier than they should. And maybe that's normal now. Maybe this is what emotional residue sounds like. Some people leave, but their timing stays with you. It's weird grieving something that technically never had a title. We never called each other mine, never posted pictures, never made promises, never had the what do we conversation properly. Still, you were the first person I wanted to text every morning, the first voice I looked for after long days. Funny how emotional attachment doesn't wait for official labels. Maybe ambiguity hurts differently because there's nothing concrete to blame. We were never official anyway, so why does this still feel like loss? Why do random nights still remind me how comfortable your presence became? No anniversary dates, no dramatic breakup, no clean explanation. Just two people slowly becoming emotionally important without admitting it out loud. I think that's what made us dangerous. There were no rules, no expectations clear enough to protect either of us. So we drifted naturally into intimacy, late night calls, inside jokes, falling asleep on FaceTime occasionally. All the emotional parts of a relationship without the security of one. Maybe that's why moving on feels confusing, because technically nothing ended. You just became gradually harder to reach. Replies got shorter, plans happened less, silence lasted longer, until one day we accidentally became strangers again, without ever officially becoming anything first. Some heartbreak exists entirely in undefined spaces. We were never official anyway, but certain nights still carry our energy. so losing it would feel easier to explain. No title, still hurt though.